Hey everybody, you are tuning in to Canary Cry News Talk Livestream pre-stream. Congratulations for being early, folks. I will say, Saul to Paul over there on D Live got first comment of the day with some really fun gifts. So good job, Saul to Paul. You did it. You finally made it. Make sure to tell your mom. All right, everybody, we're happy you're here. Remember, I'm here to remind you to follow us on multiple platforms. You can follow us at twitch.tv/Canary Cry Radio, youtube.com/Canary Cry Radio, or consider following us on D Live. It's what all the cool kids are doing. All right, well, we're about to get started here, so make sure to grab yourself a snack, maybe a glass of water. You gotta stay hydrated, you know? People aren't talking about hydration enough lately. A lot of important stuff going on. We're going to cover it during the show, but most importantly, stay hydrated. Okay, kids, let's get going.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy.
You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. Today is December 11th, 2020. This is episode 275, and today, Waccine Super Soldiers. That's right, and you know me, I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And this is Gonz. Welcome to the podcast where we report the egregious while pointing to Jesus, where we will likely offend you because we can be facetious. Supplement your weekly news digestion with us so you can get a well-rounded, biblically grounded intake of crazy world events. Thank you for joining us live or later on the RSS feed. Twitch doesn't seem like it's connected on my screen, but I'm seeing chat, so people must be there.
Chatters be chatting, man.
Yeah. It says 0 from Twitch on my restream here, but
Oh my gosh. Censorship.
Typical.
Yes. They've got us.
Yeah.
Here we go. It's the last day of Waccine Week, Friday. So
Sure.
we made it through the week. From what I hear, our UK listeners are still alive and kicking. Nobody has reported that they personally have gotten the Waccine yet, which does not surprise me at all, considering they listen to this show. So good job, everybody. And we're thinking about you, UK. But other than that, we have one last big push for Waccine updates this week. Not to say we'll never talk about it again, but that's pretty fun. Gonz, anything new that you need to keep us updated on in your personal life?
Nope. I will say the last many episodes, I have been very sleep deprived. So if I say something that's out of line, that's my excuse.
Wow, that's good. You're getting ahead of the game there.
Yeah.
Although, of course, the Twitterverse will not care when they excoriate you.
Yeah, we're not big enough to really hit the radar of a lot of the Twitter trolling.
I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah.
We're in such a sweet spot right now. I'm just so happy with our zone. You know, we've got just such a beautiful, perfect audience, just enough to keep us on our toes with whether it's deserved or not, you know, the proper amount of negativity. And yet we don't, you know, we're not putting ourselves at risk too much in the public eye. So I'm very thankful for that.
Yes.
You know, and we'll just see what the Lord has planned for the future. I have a fun little story. So those who have been listening to, you know, the Canary Cry family of products for many years know that I tend to spend some time tinkering trying to recreate some 0-point energy devices. I've got some great books on, how to build different Tesla inventions, things like that. But I moved about a year ago, and I had not set up any of my fun equipment or or even a little workstation. I since last show started putting together my little magnetic laboratory again. I just have like a bunch of fun little magnets, or big magnets rather, and it's fun starting to tinker around again. So I'll keep everybody posted if I solve the perpetual motion conundrum. I will say I forgot that very powerful magnets can be very dangerous. I almost took off a finger yesterday, but other than that, things are going great.
Well, good luck with that. And
Thanks.
Don't get the attention of the illumined ones who will come knocking at your door if you figure anything out.
We sense magnets.
we can
We're
feel,
here.
we scan, and we see the magnetic field you're creating over here.
We're here to destroy your magnet laboratory.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Should we get some short election talk out of the way?
Short.
And so my question is very direct. Is voting by mail secure? No.
So, yep, more stuff going on. It's getting down to the wire. It's very interesting to watch. The narrative between the mainstream and the alternative could not be more further apart. It's pretty wild to see. It's literally two different worlds, dimensions, universes, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
And I just have a quick headline here. This is from The Hill that was republished on MSN.com. GOP lawmaker compares Japanese internment to alleged fraud that cost Trump election. And dragging us Japanese into it, and into the whole conversation.
What was the comparison? How did they compare?
Yeah, so here's what it says. Representative Clay Higgins compared the supposed election fraud that cost President Trump the election, as of now, to Japanese internment during World War II in a Facebook post on Friday. Blah, blah, blah. And it mentions how the president that the team has not yet provided evidence to prove the claims of fraud, which is like, come on, The Hill. There's lots of evidence.
Yeah.
It's just whether you consider it credible or not, but it's evidence.
Right.
There's a lot of it out there. The quote is, quote, "The internment of 120,000 American citizens of Japanese ancestry during World War II happened," Higgins wrote. "It was real. It was wrong. It was abhorrent." And he continues, "And it was challenged in the court as a violation of constitutional rights. The Supreme Court of the U.S. did not stop it," he continued. "Lessons of history. They were 120,000. We are 75 million. So what he's trying to say is that because the 120,000...
I still don't fully get it.
I think what he's trying to do is, constitutionally, the 120,000 Japanese Americans that were rounded up was not good. And the Supreme Court ignored or didn't stop the violation of constitutional rights. And he's saying that it's the same thing happening to 75 million Americans whose desire or vote is being ignored.
Right.
A little sensational.
All right. Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a stretch, but hey, okay.
There's a lot of rhetoric like this, and so it's kind of like, I agree with Beyond Awake in the chat. Too much blah blah these days.
Yeah,
that's kind of what this is. So
yeah. There was some interesting election stuff that I found pretty fascinating. I didn't bring it to the show, but it was involving, William Barr's.
Were you about to say Bill Burr, the comedian?
I was going to say Bill Barr, and I just had Bill Burr's face flash in my mind. That wasn't right. William Barr, Bill Barr, and his just weird. I don't know. I don't know whose team he's on anymore.
He's on his own. He's doing his own thing, but he's probably bought out by somebody.
Well, I read a breakdown of how he actively was basically protecting Hunter Biden or stopping the investigation from going public for various reasons, which was I don't know. It's just kind of a weird thing.
It's probably tied up, man. That money is probably tied up.
Well, isn't that the answer to all of it? Isn't that crazy?
It is.
It's money, money, money.
Money.
Do you have a? Did we bring an article about the the Chinese honeypot?
No, I don't think we did, but yeah.
Maybe we should talk about that on Monday because it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, I think we can bring it up in as a side note because you're talking about the Fang or whatever.
Yeah, I forget what he was. I don't have it right in front of me.
I think it was Fang was the name of the infiltrator, and Swalwell who got.
Swalwell, that's right. Yeah. His successful honeypot was activated on Swalwell there, and he fell for it.
You know what's funny though? A lot of people are like, "Oh, but I feel like most of the response from everybody is like, yeah, that's about right." There's nobody that's really freaked out about it. It's more like, yeah, it's probably been happening for a long time, and
totally. Well, that's the interesting thing. I mean, these honeypot schemes are very common. I mean, it's a well-known, long known and practiced, espionage tactic.
Yeah.
The problem with Swalwell, he's such a young politician that these young guys that get in there, they don't realize that there's a much grander scheme afoot.
I know. They should have listened to Canary Cry Radio, educated themselves a little bit, or News Talk, one or the other.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that on Monday.
We'll talk about it.
We'll do a whole thing.
And China does come up a couple times in this episode, so we'll do our CCP bashing.
Okay, well, let's get into it in a second. Before we jump into the Flippy update, I do want to remind everybody, if you made it to the live show, go ahead and click like. Smash that like button. Very important that we get those likes up in the first 5 or 10 minutes of the show because that's the algorithms really respond to that. So hit like now. If you regret it later, you can take it back, but just do it now. Thank you very much. Okay, time for a Flippy update.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
Okay, time for a Flippy update. For those who may be new, welcome. And secondly, Flippy is the colloquial name we have for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy sometimes in sort of an allegorical sense, sometimes in a very literal sense, keeping track of the robots and their inevitable takeover of the human race. But first, they're going to be our friends and help us out quite a bit. I'm going to take this one from medicalexpress.com. The headline is Brain Implants Enable Man to Simultaneously Control 2 Prosthetic Limbs with Thoughts. Woo! So this is a kind of a true update because many of the aspects of this we have talked about over the years in bits and pieces here. We talk about how medical uses is commonly used as an excuse to introduce potentially harmful technology onto the public. But I kind of have this thing where, sometimes it is really good medical uses, and I try to not bash good medical uses too often because if they're really helping people, I don't need to be breaking anybody down. But so here's the headline. Oh, I already said it. Brain implants enable man to simultaneously control 2 prosthetic limbs with thoughts. In what is believed to be a medical first, researchers from Johns Hopkins Medicine. Interesting. They didn't say medical center, just Johns Hopkins Medicine, which is famously a CIA institution there, and the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory have enabled a quadriplegic man to control a pair of prosthetic arms with his mind. In January 2019, surgeons implanted 6 electrodes into the brain of Robert Buzz Chmielewski, during a 10-hour operation. The goal was to improve the sensation in his hands and enable him to mentally operate his prosthesis. For more than 3 decades after a surfing accident while in his teens, Chmielewski has been paralyzed with only minimal movement in his arms and hands. Now, almost 2 years into the joint JHM and APL research study following the surgery, has reached an important milestone. He can now use both of his robotic appendages to perform simple tasks such as feeding himself. Quote, this type of research, known as brain-computer interface, has for the most part focused on only one arm, controlled from only one side of the brain, says Pablo Selnick, MD, professor and director of physical medicine and rehabilitation at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine and a member of the research team. Quote, thus, being able to control 2 robotic arms performing a basic activity of daily living, in this case, cutting a pastry and bringing it to the mouth using signals detected from both sides of the brain via implanted electrodes, is a clear step forward to achieve more complex task control directly fed from the brain. Quote, simultaneous brain-machine interface control of 2 limbs is a particular challenge because it's not a simple 1 + 1 summation of what the left arm is doing plus what the right arm is doing in the brain, but more like trying to calculate the sum of the 2 arms plus 1, as 1 plus 1 equals 3.8. Ooh, I'm not great at math, but that doesn't add up. Adds Gabriela Cantarero, PhD, assistant professor of physical medicine and rehabilitation at the Johns Hopkins University School of Medicine and a member of the research team. The technology uses a system of devices that automates a portion of the robotic control with artificial intelligence. Quote, our goal is to make activities such as eating easy to accomplish by having the robot do one part of the work and leaving the user in charge of the details, which food to eat, where to cut, how big the pieces should be, and so on, says David Handelman, PhD, a senior roboticist at APL and a member of the research team. Quote, by combining brain-computer interface signals with robotics and artificial intelligence, we allow the user to focus on the parts of the task that matter most. Quote, our next steps for this work include expanding the number and types of activities daily living that we can demonstrate with the form of human-machine teaming. And then it finishes out with some unimportant information. But the thing I found really interesting about this is, super cool that it is helping this guy who has been paralyzed for a couple decades. But it was pretty fascinating to see the combination of, this guy can control these arms with his brain. But then you only learn later that he's actually working in tandem with artificial intelligence. So it's not a completely human piloted system, which does bring up a little bit of concerns for myself. They just gotta sneak in artificial intelligence. They can't give full control to the human.
I don't even think it's possible to truly have a one-to-one human-controlled machine. I think you're always going to have, especially when it comes directly from the brain.
Nothing is complicated.
There's got to be some kind of interface or a medium to change whatever that electrical signaling is and not just modify, but enhance and calculate to make it into a physical movement. So I'm not too surprised by that.
You mean he can't have a brain-computer interface without a computer? Is that what you're saying?
Sure. Yeah, that's
because that's for pretty deep insight, guys.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying that it shouldn't surprise you too much because it's again, none of this is possible without the middleman there.
That's not quite true. I mean, it depends what you're saying about middleman. If you're talking about artificial intelligence, there certainly has been some pretty impressive brain-machine interfacing that has been done, but it's always, oh my gosh, excruciatingly simple. But they included the artificial intelligence, I think, to kind of control a lot of stuff that you might not be able to focus on with your brain. It's like background stuff. But, without getting too blue here, I can talk about how Flippy is taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. I don't know much about this man, but if he has a wife or something like that, hopefully a wife, because he shouldn't be flirting unless he's married. Having the control of a couple of limbs to, perhaps hug his wife it could be a very powerful experience for him. However, there's just artificial intelligence just slipping right between them.
Well, he doesn't have...
Flippy is doing some of the flirting in that case.
Do the robot hands have sensors that are accurate enough for the brain to interpret as touch and feel and all that?
It did not mention any of that. I don't think that's included.
Yeah,
no.
So still a lot to develop. At
we
least
get
in the
it,
public.
Gons. It's not a perfect system.
Well, I'm saying
sorry,
in the public.
We're not in 3000, the year 3000.
Well, I'm saying that this is what's public, and we always say that what's public is probably 30, 40 years behind what they actually have or what they've actually experimented on or are experimenting on. So, I just wanted to touch base and see where this is, because I know you don't like talking about the paraplegic stuff when it comes to robot arms. There's been a lot of stories about it.
Not that I don't like it. I just don't want to, I don't want to tear anybody down who's just trying to regain some activity.
Normalcy.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Well, we got a whole bunch of updates, and then we have a couple of main stories that lead us into some vaccine updates. But here we go.
We interrupt this broadcast to give you a brief update. By the end of this timely interruption, you will be thoroughly updated.
33 is the number of completion of the Great War.
33 is the Illuminati dog whistle. This is ZDNet.com. Amnesia 33. Vulnerable impact millions of smart and industrial devices. Security researchers have identified 33 security flaws in 4 open source TCP IP stacks used across a wide range of smart products. So, yeah, interesting that out of the many things that you can have in open source TCP IP stacks, they found 33 security flaws. Of course.
Yeah, of course.
And they called it Amnesia 33.
Yeah, so. That sounds like, some evil, it sounds like the bad guy in a video game.
Yeah, exactly. So, talk about cybersecurity and the cyber winter and all that kind of stuff that we've been touching on. This seems to be another one of those dog whistle moments. Amnesia 33.
Yeah.
So
watch out, cyber.
Yeah, everything cyber, which is all of our internets here. And I also have a 666 update. 666. This is therealdeal.com. I don't know how credible the source is, but I was looking for something that because I ran into some paywalls. But the headline here, Democrats launch probe into Kushner's 666 Fifth Avenue bailout.
Oh.
And as you know, Kushner purchased the 666 Fifth Avenue building a while ago, and his connection to some microchip manufacturing stuff. I covered it on the YouTube channel a few years ago when I think Trump was first elected. Looking into Kushner's background was kind of like, hey, what's up with this guy?
Right.
But it says here, Democrats in Congress have launched an investigation into whether the bailout financing for Kushner's companies is 666 Fifth Avenue impacted United States foreign policy. Specifically, it has to do with Qatar. And it might have, but, it's interesting because a lot of Kushner's main moves during this whole few years of the Trump presidency has been peace in the Middle East. That's been kind of the big thing. And so it's just something to keep your eye on as we have. But
interesting how it's Qatar, because Qatar, the international financial arm of the Qatarian government, also pays it rents space from Trump in his most valuable thing. So it seems like the whole family has got a lot of connections with the Qatari government.
Yeah. And I think we did a story on that was pretty in depth, and I think it was a Vanity Fair article too. By the way, Basil, the most credible news source.
Classic.
So there you go, 666 in a headline. But moving on here,
Space Pope Reptilian.
A new world order can emerge.
So if you have any friends that are skeptical about a global governance taking place right before our eyes, perhaps this prnewswire.com story is something you can send them. And we talked about inclusive capitalism a couple episodes ago, I think.
Yeah, which talking about the, focusing on the stakeholders for a new enlightened capitalism that will make the world better. Of course, the stakeholders being big corporations.
Yeah, yeah. The headline here, the Council for Inclusive Capitalism with the Vatican, a new alliance of global business leaders, launches today. This was back on the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
And it says here, the Council for Inclusive Capitalism with the Vatican, the Council, a historic new partnership between some of the world's largest investment and business leaders and the Vatican, launched today. It signifies the urgency of joining moral and market imperatives to reform capitalism into a powerful force for the good of humanity under the moral guidance of His Holiness Pope Francis and
good.
His Eminence Cardinal Peter Turkson, who leads the dicastery for promoting integral human development at the Vatican, and inspired by the moral imperative of all faiths. They keep mentioning this moral imperative. That's part of the problem with the Vatican and why, the Pope is practically, in my opinion, the spirit of Antichrist here, because he's basically, standing there as Christ on earth, and he is dictating moral guidance and imperative to the whole world.
Yeah, interesting how his moral imperative lines up perfectly with the moral imperatives of, all the politicians, all the corporations, all the mass media. Wow, what a revolutionary he is.
He is. The council is led by a core group of global leaders known as Guardians for Inclusive Capitalism.
Oh, great.
Inclusive
to who?
Inclusive to the top 0.01%.
Even that name is misleading and makes me upset, because capitalism already is the most inclusive economic system that we've made up so far. Yeah. I mean, by definition, what economic system is more inclusive than capitalism?
Democratic socialism, bro. Come on, get with the program.
Okay, I forgot.
It's socialism, but corporate and capitalistic.
Oh,
that's what someone was trying to convince me recently. By
so
the way,
you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, they were trying to tell me that it's not socialism, from the past. It's capitalistic socialism. And I was like, you mean crony capitalism?
Right.
That's basically what it is. These leaders represent more than $10.5 trillion in assets under management, companies with over $2.1 trillion of market capitalization, and 200 million workers in over 163 countries. And, of course, they quote Lynn Forster de Rothschild in the article here. Quote, capitalism has created enormous global prosperity for us, but it has also left too many people behind because of us, led to degradation of our planet, and is not widely trusted in society.
People behind. Sorry to step over you. I just got so excited.
Go ahead.
Anyways, so I was just going to say, capitalism is not an entity. Yeah. It's not a thing that can leave people behind.
Yeah, exactly. It's not its own company. Let's see. This council will follow the warning from Pope Francis to listen to the cry of the earth and the cry of the people, and answer society's demand for a more equitable and sustainable model of growth. And the list of people that are part of this, you have the president and chief officer of MasterCard, Great Reset.
Classic.
DuPont, the whole bunch of places. Prime Minister of the United Nations, Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance. You have Ernst & Young, What other ones did I highlight here? Calipers Johnson, the chairman of the board and chief executive officer of Johnson & Johnson, another vaccine outlet there.
Yes. The least popular vaccine company.
Yeah, but he's on the team, so he'll get his day, you know.
Okay.
Chairman and chief executive officer of Visa, treasurer of the state of California. I mean,
good.
And it's Fiona Ma. I wonder if that's a Chinese. I don't know. I gotta look into that.
The guy responsible for the failure of the 5th largest economy in the world.
I think it's a she, but anyway.
Okay, sure.
Chairman of the board and chief executive officer of Bank of America. Maybe get your money off of Bank of America if you got a Bank of America. The president of the Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation. So there you go. I mean, it's your usual suspects. This is not good. This is part of the Great Reset. So just wanted to throw that out there. The Vatican is all in on part of this whole launch for inclusive capitalism.
All stay moral.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But there you go. Again, if you don't think the world is structuring themselves for some kind of one world government, maybe take a look at this, and it might at least inform you of what's going on out there. And then this next one, very quickly.
It will kill.
This one's for you, Basil. Did you watch the explosion?
No, I heard the news, and it made me sad.
NS-8 Starship's first flight ends in fiery crash. And, I mean, it's just...
You know what's funny? That's a misrepresentation. It landed fine. Everything went fine. It just exploded afterwards.
It exploded as it landed, so, you know, I don't know.
It was touching the ground. It had feet on the ground before it exploded. I call that a success.
Well, maybe not. But, yeah, there you go. I'm watching it right now. I mean, it literally exploded as it touched the ground. It's almost like the ground made it explode. So
yeah,
it will kill. And then this I don't have like a trolling jingle, do I? Maybe I have some kind of... No, I don't exactly. But this one, BuzzFeedNews.com, this is ridiculous. Quote, there was a pandemic? What life is like in countries without COVID. Did you know there's countries without COVID? COVID infections are low to non-existent in several countries where life looks practically normal. Some people even occasionally forget there's a pandemic going on, and then they have these pictures of people like hugging and, you know, taking pictures with friends and stuff like that. And it's just weird because if you had these same pictures in America, they would say, "Oh, super spreader event." But just because it's in another country, they're like, "Oh, look at them. They forgot there's a pandemic.
They're better than us."
And a lot of this is from some kind of pride thing. You got the rainbow flags and stuff.
Sort of parade or something.
Yeah, and the pictures here are from Taiwan, which is part of it's part of the Republic of China.
No, it's not.
Taiwan simplified. Officially, the Republic of China is a country in East Asia. Neighboring countries include People's Republic of China.
That shows the influence on BuzzFeed News. It's a very contested topic.
Okay.
The ownership of Taiwan.
Sure. But there you go. I mean, that's the tweet that I saw this story on was a guy saying, you know, like a LibJo guy saying, "Oh, look at this. It's going to make you jealous." And it's like, oh, yeah. I mean, again, if you had this in America, it's a super spreader event, but because it's in Taiwan or other parts of the world, it's because they're clear of the pandemic, which, by the way, there were some articles that talked about how the World Health Organization changed the definition of a pandemic back in 2009. So if we were operating under the definition of a pandemic, according to the World Health Organization, prior to 2009, we would not be in a pandemic, quote unquote pandemic. So there you go.
That makes sense. You got to be careful, Gons. As a Japanese descendant, you got to be careful not to take sides on the Taiwan issue. China claims to own Taiwan, and Taiwan claims to own themselves.
Yeah, I think the Japanese
that's interesting. Having it reported this way really does show a very strong Chinese influence over BuzzFeed News.
Yeah.
Not that that should come as a surprise, but that's a dead giveaway when we're talking about news analysis and media literacy. If you see an outlet referring to Taiwan as part of China, that means that China has some. You can almost guarantee that China owns a large portion of that outlet.
Well, more from China.
Welcome to Chinese News!
USAtoday.com, Chinese agency advises flight crews to wear diapers to reduce COVID-19 risk in lavatory reports.
Oh my gosh. It's mask 2.0.
Mask
Soon
the front, mask the back.
Soon they're asking them to wear butt masks.
The Civil Aviation Administration of China has issued some unusual advice for flight attendants looking for ways to avoid contacting coronavirus while working. It suggested they wear diapers to reduce their need to use airplane lavatories. The agency, which is China's counterpart to the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, offered that suggestion in a new document called Technical Guidelines for Epidemic Prevention and Control for Airlines. That was published in late November, according to reports from CNN and Fox News. Oh, they're both in on it.
That's the dumbest, craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. Even just on a logical way. First of all, try to imagine wearing a diaper and then purposefully using it. I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could will my body to do that. But secondly, even if you do go in a diaper, you got to change it. You can't just keep walking around like that. You still have to go to the lavatory.
Oh, the article goes into a little bit more detail.
That's complete madness and a troll on humanity.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty ridiculous. It's sad, and I feel bad for anybody who's a flight attendant on these airlines and they're being handed, masks and diapers.
Yeah, and the continuing infantilization of people who are not in the elite category.
Yeah, exactly.
Like literal infantilization.
I know, this is just literal. This is,
that's
quite
crazy.
Literally.
It's hilarious, but it also makes me more sad than a lot of the other stuff we talk about.
I know. And we're going to, I lined these up because a lot of China here, but we're going to go into some of the main stories. And that'll lead us into the vaccine updates. But it involves China.
Welcome to Chinese News!
Better, bigger, tastier.
All right. This is coming from NBCnews.com, and the headline is China has done human testing to create biologically enhanced super soldiers, says top U.S. official. Now, keep in mind, this is wonderful, coming from the mainstream media outlet NBC News here. Also, something that fringy folks like you and I, Gons, have been talking about for almost a decade. And, of course, those even before us have been talking about this. Which, of course, made us crazy antisocial conspiracy theorists.
Right.
Oh, but no, now it's totally normal mainstream news. Mm-hmm. Here's the article. U.S. intelligence shows that China has conducted human testing on members of the People's Liberation Army in hopes of developing soldiers with, quote, biologically enhanced capabilities, the top U.S. intelligence official said Friday. John Ratcliffe, the director of national intelligence, included the explosive claim in a long Wall Street Journal op-ed in which he made the case that China poses the preeminent national security threat to the U.S. No kidding. Quote, there are no ethical boundaries to Beijing's pursuit of power. Ooh, powerful statement there. Talking about moral capitalism and, moral imperatives. Quote, there are no ethical boundaries to Beijing's pursuit of power, wrote Ratcliffe, a Republican former member of Congress from Texas. His office and the CIA did not immediately respond to requests to elaborate on the notion that China sought to create, quote, super soldiers of the sort depicted in Hollywood films like Captain America, Bloodshot, and Universal Soldier. Last year, 2 American American scholars wrote a paper examining China's ambitions to apply biotechnology to the battlefield, including what they said were signs that China was interested in using gene editing technology to enhance human and perhaps soldier performance. Interesting how they had to separate human and soldier performance. Specifically, the scholars explored Chinese research using the gene editing tool CRISPR, short for clusters of regularly interspaced short palindromic repeats. CRISPR has been used to treat genetic diseases and modify plants, but Western scientists consider it unethical to seek to manipulate genes to boost the performance of healthy people. Quote, while the potential leveraging of CRISPR to increase human capabilities in the future battlefield remains only a hypothetical possibility at the present, there are indications that Chinese military researchers are starting to explore its potential, wrote the scholars.
My butt. Yeah. It's been happening for at least 20 years, I would say. Minimum 20 years.
Starting, and also the hilarious insinuation that America would never test anything like that.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, right.
Elsa Kanya, an expert on Chinese defense technology at the Center for New American Security, and Wilson Vorndick, a consultant on China matters and former Navy officer. That was where the quote was from. Yeah, good point. Quote, Chinese military scientists and strategists have consistently emphasized that biotechnology could become a new strategic Chinese military scientists and strategists have consistently emphasized that biotechnology could become a new strategic commanding heights of the future revolutionary and military affairs. That broke my brain a little bit. The scholars wrote, quoting a 2015 article in a military newspaper. One prominent Chinese general, they noted, said in 2017 that, quote, modern biotechnology and its integration with information, nanotechnology, and the cognitive, etc., domains will have revolutionary influences upon weapon and equipment, the combat spaces, the forms of warfare, and military theories. Vorndick said in a phone interview that he is less concerned about the battlefield advantage such research might provide than he is. Okay, is my brain broken or is this article broken? Vorndick said in a phone interview that he is less concerned about the battlefield advantage such research might provide than he is about the consequences of tampering with human genes. It was my brain. The article's fine. Quote, when we start playing around with genetic organisms, there could be unforeseen consequences, he said. Ooh, deep thinker. Representatives of the Chinese government did not immediately respond to a request for comment. The overall message of Ratcliffe's opinion piece is that China is a dangerous adversary that threatens American economic and national security. Quote, the People's Republic of China poses the greatest threat to America today and the greatest threat to democracy and freedom worldwide since World War II, he wrote. Quote, the intelligence is clear. Beijing intends to dominate the U.S. and the rest of the planet economically, militarily, and technologically. In an interview with Fox News, Ratcliffe urged President-elect Joe Biden to be honest about China. Bad chance. As NBC News has reported, Biden and his foreign policy advisors agree that China poses a major threat, but they say they believe the Trump administration offered more bluster than substance in response. Oh, we almost made it through a whole article without blaming Trump for something. Couldn't quite do it there, though, NBC.
Had to add it. Because they have to cater to their Chinese overlords, even though the criticism is launched on China. Well,
notice how it's just real quick to point out. It says, as NBC News has reported, Biden and his foreign policy advisors agree that China poses a major threat, but they say they believe the Trump. So it's like Biden being asked about China says, yeah, they're a threat, but Trump is bad, though.
Orange man worse.
Nice little toss the hot potato there.
So,
classic move.
A few things to point out here. First off,
but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be?
And you talk about the Gibborim, the mighty men of old. The super soldiers is very much along those lines, genetically enhanced and, more powerful and skillful. The other part, I do want to mention the PSYOP part of this too.
Psyops.
Because, as you mentioned, America has done, or maybe is even the leader when it comes to genetic experimentation, at least in terms of MK Ultra. They did mind control type of stuff.
Right.
And there's no indication that their hands are clean when it comes to some kind of genetic experimentation. And so to blame China for everything, there's a psyop in that, because it's almost like trying to avoid their own doing in this regard, in trying to create biologically enhanced super soldiers. And they may not even tell the public about it ever. Because, let's say like the Chinese super soldiers land on American shores or whatever. It's going to be like the superhero movies. These guys are the American force is just going to come out and they're going to start fighting or whatever. And we'll be like, whoa, when did we get our own super soldiers?
Oh, right. It's only a matter of time before it's obvious that we've been doing the same thing.
Exactly.
I'm a lot less worried about super soldiers than I used to be, mainly because of the influence of robotics in the military. Talking about the same scene you're talking about, an amphibious assault vehicle rolls up on the beach in LA and it opens its gaping maw as 7-foot-tall, burly Chinese super soldiers come hustling out and ready to take over America. And then what's that sound? Drone attack. Boom. Super soldiers gone. They got to make these super soldiers fireproof, explosion proof, and drone proof if super soldiers are to play any big role in the future of warfare. The human soldiers, the infantry warfare has been on the decline since World War II. Especially with the U.S., usually we're mostly using soldiers for, like smaller operations. That we don't have this sort of giant infantry confrontation that we used to.
Sure. I guess you're right on one hand. But I think this has a lot more to do with enforcement of totalitarian governments towards their own people, or towards
less of an invasion force, more of a public-facing law enforcement and tyranny enforcement.
Yeah. And part of this second story about super soldiers, Le Terminator. This is thesun.co.uk. So
Le Terminator.
French army gets go-ahead to create bionic soldiers to make them stronger, faster, using treatment and prosthetics.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So this is kind of what you're talking about, and connects to the Flippy update here.
Yeah. That's a big move for a Western country.
Yeah. So the French military has been given the green light to develop super soldiers that can resist pain, stay awake longer, and have boosted brain power and hearing. The augmented soldiers could be given extra military capabilities through implants, prosthetics, and medical treatment that give them a bionic boost. The Ethical Committee of the Armed Forces Ministry gave the nod to the proposals in a new report launched on Tuesday, which said in a report that France needed to keep up with countries that are already working to produce super soldiers, like China and the U.S. The proposals aim to improve, quote, physical, cognitive, perceptive, and psychological capabilities, and could allow for location tracking or connectivity with weapons systems and other soldiers. The committee has outlined some of its research, which includes drugs to keep troops awake for long periods of time, which is an old thing. I read about stuff like this in the U.S. like 10 years ago, like in military magazines and stuff, and even surgery to improve hearing. Surgery, huh? The committee said that France needs to maintain, quote, operational superiority of its armed forces in a challenging strategic context, reports CNN. Oh, CNN.
No, good.
But it may be some time before French soldiers come to resemble the Justice League's cyborg with his superhuman strength and mechanically enhanced body. I can picture that. The French, they're a little more laid back on certain things. I can picture them being like, hey, we'll do it later. It goes into some humanitarian law stuff in France and all that. But I think the bigger takeaway and context, if we're talking about the vaccine week, is so this past 2 weeks we've had a former Israeli space agency guy come out and say, oh, the aliens are not, we're not ready to talk about aliens, while basically telling everyone that there's aliens, quote unquote, the Galactic Federation. And at the same time, we have the super soldier story. And I really think this is the beginning, openly. We've talked about this as long as we've been doing stuff publicly. And we're not the first. There have been many others who have shed light on these issues. But this is really the beginning of a public, open type of situation for genetic alteration of the public at earnest here. Like, I think they're really trying to make it acceptable to have these enhanced soldiers for national reasons, but also this is creating a gap between the have and have-nots. The same way that the rich and the poor have, the gap has widened, the middle class, so to speak, have been destroyed in many different countries and the U.S. I think we're going to see a similar thing begin to happen here, where you have your genetically enhanced and you have your genetically not enhanced. And in fact, not just not enhanced, but more and more unhealthy. And I think the word is diminution. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. Diminution? Like diminish?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, diminution, if I'm saying that right. But yeah.
I think it's diminution.
Diminution,
but,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so you have your enhancement of a certain populace, like the super soldiers or the wealthy who can afford it. And then you have your diminution of the rest of us. Who
it's
have
a
to
genetic
take
classism.
Right, who have to take the vaccine, and our immune system gets more and more compromised, and we're more reliant on the state to take care of us, and the whole deal. It's the whole Dr. Hugo de Garis class system, really, I think, publicly starting to take place openly. So I think that's the major takeaway. Aside from like the fears of a super soldier walking in and stealing your stuff or, hurting you or whatever. Just more than that, it's a class system type of situation. And that's why, we talk about the Nephilim, we talk about Genesis 6, and Jesus talking about, as it were in the days of Noah, so shall it be for the coming of the Son of Man. Mentioning that in Matthew 24, talking about the end times. It's almost like the biblical context of this is the only thing that explains what's happening right now. Because if you're just coming at it from a secular or worldly kind of view, it just looks like progress. We're just moving, and there's concerns. People are concerned about it, but there isn't that context of, hey, this happened before, and there was some consequences for what took place when it came to genetic alteration and messing with God's design. And so, I think this is an important topic, and it does also connect to a conversation that we will have as a part of the interview section. Well, I think we're going to do 2 separate streams here, but as soon as this episode is done, we're going to do a Canary Cry Radio to talk to Colonel David Jamona and Troy Anderson, authors of the book Military Guide to Armageddon. And I think Colonel David Jamona still has his... or at least a certain level of security clearance. So we'll have to see how much he can tell us. But I did want to connect this vaccine situation with all these super soldier stories, because that's really, if you step back and look at it, I think that's what's taking place here. And
a similar set of concerns.
Yeah, similar set of concerns, but one moving in the direction of enhancement and one moving in the direction of more controlled and diminution.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, well, there you go, folks. Remember to stick around after the show. We're going to do an episode of Canary Cry Radio. Awesome conversation we're going to be having, so do that. And one more reminder here, if you're here on the stream watching live, make sure to hit that like button. We still got some time to tell the algorithms that we're worth taking a look at as we move into more Waccine Week news.
Waccine.
Science is truth.
That's right. And here's a story that I kind of popped up, and it's a sad story, so I don't mean to laugh at it. However,
we did get some comments in the last episode saying us laughing at the people who died from the.
We did not laugh at people.
Well, that's what
who
I'm
died.
saying. That's
Yes.
what I was trying. I didn't respond to the comment, but
yeah,
we're not laughing at the people who died.
No,
we're sort of laughing about the situation and the context of everything.
No,
but
those are people who are just enjoying their outrage a little bit too much.
Sure.
This article is from people.com, so you know it's legit from humans. The article is titled, Dr. Fauci Reveals Daughter's Boyfriend's Brother, 32, died after contracting COVID. Very sad. It is very sad.
Yeah,
32, though, a little bit too early.
Very young.
Yeah. Dr. Anthony Fauci is opening up about how the novel coronavirus has personally impacted his own family. In an interview Wednesday for the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, the nation's top infectious disease specialist revealed that the brother of his daughter Allison's boyfriend, who he did not name, died after contracting COVID-19. Asked by a moderator, Sanjay Gupta, oh, interesting. Sanjay Gupta was doing it. CNN's chief medical correspondent. If any of Fauci's family or friends have been affected by the virus, Fauci said there was one very sad case that came to mind. Quote, yeah, the answer is yes, a few, but one in particular, Fauci said. My youngest daughter's boyfriend's brother. My youngest daughter's boyfriend's brother is a 32-year-old. What?
I'm able to follow. I know it's a little bit of a trail.
Took me a second. Yes, a little bit of a trail we got to follow. Is a 32-year-old young man, athletic, healthy, who got COVID-19 and had one of the unusual complications of cardiomyopathy with an arrhythmia and died. So there you have a 32-year-old young man, otherwise healthy, actually quite athletic and strong, who died, he continued. The 79-year-old director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases said the death of Allison's boyfriend's brother really saddened his daughter greatly. Fauci went on to explain that it is important that the public understand the severity of the virus as it can impact people regardless of age. Quote, you don't want to overwhelm the general public, but you want them to at least understand that you're dealing with real suffering and real disease and real loss in the form of death of loved ones, he said. You know, it's interesting. The whole reason for this article, you know, if you're talking about the construction of the mainstream narrative, is to, have a reason to repeat the fact that young people can have serious issues with COVID-19, which, you know, is kind of an early COVID talking point. It seems, you know, it's been a while since I've really had someone, you know, make a big distinction between young and old people getting the disease. And I mean, the story here basically is a young man died of COVID. Of course, you attach Fauci to it because, you know, people love Daddy Fauci, and somehow that will make, give an emotional surge to some people who, you know, are paying attention to Fauci. But cardiomyopathy with an arrhythmia and died. You know, it's always one of these weird things when it comes to a young person dying of COVID. There's always like some extra, extra rare, strange thing that happened.
Well, cardiomyopathy, according to the CDC, the list of causes, it's family history of cardiomyopathy, heart failure, or sudden cardiac arrest, connective tissue disease and other types of autoimmune disease, coronary heart disease, heart attack, damage of the heart, endocrine disease, infection in the heart muscle, long-term alcoholism, cocaine abuse, muscle condition, or pregnancy. I mean, I don't think he developed it because of COVID.
Well, yeah, I mean, who knows? But that's one of those cardiomyopathy is one of those things that's fairly mysterious, just in general, right?
Yeah, well, kind of, but they don't know exactly what causes it, but it's I don't know. It would have helped if Fauci said because of COVID he developed. He was totally healthy before, no problems. Which, by the way, cardiomyopathy, they say some people don't even detect it till much later. Yeah. There's no clear evidence here that suggests that COVID was the catalyst for this guy to develop cardiomyopathy and arrhythmia and die from it.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. Of course, we know that a lot of the numbers that they will count to COVID death, just if COVID is somewhere in the same room as someone who dies. So, it could very well be that type of situation.
Sure. Well, the other thing, you brought this story today, and I didn't know about it, but I did tweet yesterday. I was looking at some California numbers, and I said heart disease is the leading cause of death in California.
Right.
In 2018, I put 65,000, but it was 62,547 people died from heart disease in California. Mm-hmm. In 2020, according to the CDC, 20,000 people have died from COVID-19 in California. So a third of the number of people that normally die from heart disease have died from COVID this year. And so, again, and how many of those 20,000 that have died from COVID had comorbidities that were heart disease? And there's a good number of them if you look at the CDC stats anyway. And, and those numbers themselves are, you can't trust them either. So
there's been that connection that they're constantly trying to hammer in, which is, a lot of people are dying of heart disease, quote unquote, caused by COVID,
intensified by COVID.
Yeah, somehow, a respiratory disease will stop your heart.
But so does the flu, and so does falling.
Sure. One of the interesting symptoms of cardiomyopathy is cough while lying down.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's like,
it's a weird.
Oh, you're coughing while you're lying down. You must have COVID too.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
I don't know. I think it's you can't conclude. This is more Fauci virtue signaling.
Well, of course.
Medical.
You would never have heard of this guy if it wasn't for Fauci.
Yeah.
Not to say anything negative about the guy who passed away, but
I almost feel bad for the guy who passed away being used as fodder, like political fodder for the scientific dictatorship.
Yeah, it's also sort of a, in this world of you gain your social justice points, it's almost like Fauci's just kind of scoring another point.
Speaking of Fauci scoring points, social justice points.
Now is the time to do what you're told.
This is Dr. Anthony Fauci, a 30-second clip. Check it out.
Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, or Kizzy Corbett. Kizzy is an African-American scientist who is right at the forefront of the development of the vaccine. So the first thing you might want to say to my African-American brothers and sisters is that the vaccine that you're going to be taking was developed by an African-American woman.
Oh, jeez.
And that is just a fact. I mean, that is a fact. And I think that's some of the things that people don't fully appreciate.
That is such a gross, disgusting virtue signal session.
Horrible. And that's
almost as bad as Biden's "you ain't black if you don't vote for me."
Yeah. It's pretty bad. And Dr.
You ain't black if you don't take the vaccine.
Yeah. Dr. Kizzmekia Corbett, she was the one that helped develop the Moderna mRNA vaccine. So, and she was head of. Oh boy, I'm gonna get this wrong. She was. Let me actually click on it to make sure I have the right information. She was the get to her title because it doesn't really matter that she's black to me. It's more like her position.
Sure.
She is led the NIH team. So yeah, National Institute of Health, leading scientist for COVID-19 vaccine research. That's what she was. And she collaborated with Moderna on its vaccine. So, okay, collaborated with Moderna.
So
Moderna,
she didn't invent it
create
herself.
it. Yeah, and Moderna had been trying
to. She's a very accomplished medical professional who was involved in the organization that created a vaccine that's not even being used.
Well, I think they're going to roll out the Moderna one too, but
it's not approved yet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Pfizer is. We'll get to that, but to wrap up our little Fauci bashing segment here, this is a clip. It's 2 minutes, but I really think it's worth, and I can stop it whenever you want me to.
Well, I will say real quick before you do move on that, of course, our hearts go out to Fauci's daughter's boyfriend's brother's family.
Of course, yeah, that's what we were trying to get at. That it's sad that that Fauci would even use him as a thing. But anyway,
propaganda.
This is Kary Mullis, the inventor of PCR. This is him talking about Anthony Fauci. Have you heard this, Basil?
I don't know. Let me hear it.
What is it? What is it about humanity that wants to go to all the details and stuff and listen? You know, these guys like Fauci get up there and start talking. You know, he doesn't know anything really about anything, and I'd say that to his face. Nothing.
I would say that to his face. Did you hear that? I would say that to his face.
Play it again. This is fun.
All the details and stuff and listen. You know, these guys like Fauci get up there and start talking. You know, he doesn't know anything really about anything, and I'd say that to his face. Nothing. The man thinks you can take a blood sample and stick it in an electron microscope, and if it's got a virus in there, you'll know it. He doesn't understand electron microscopy, and he doesn't understand medicine, and he should not be in a position like he's in. Most of those guys up there on the top are just total administrative people, and they don't know anything about what's going on the bottom. You know, those guys have got an agenda, which is not what we would like them to have, being that we pay for them to take care of our health in some way. They've got a personal kind of agenda. They make up their own rules as they go. They change them when they want to, and they smugly, like Tony Fauci, does not mind going on television in front of the people who pay his salary and lie directly into the camera. You can't expect the sheep to really respect the best and the brightest. They don't know the difference, really. I mean, I like humans. Don't get me wrong, but basically, the vast majority of them do not possess the ability to judge who is and who isn't a really good scientist. I mean, that's a problem. That's a main problem, actually, with science, I'd say, in this century, because science is being judged by people. Funding is being done by people who don't understand it. Okay, who do we trust? Fauci? Fauci doesn't know enough to, you know. If Fauci wants to get on television with somebody who knows a little bit about this stuff and debate him, he could easily do it, because he's been asked. I mean, I've had a lot of people, president of the University of South Carolina, ask Fauci if he'd come down there and debate me on the stage in front of the student body, because I wanted somebody who was from the other side to come down there and balance because I felt like, well, these guys can listen to me, but I need to have somebody else down here that's going to tell me the other side. But Fauci didn't want to do it.
So there you go. This is
the
Kary
guy
Mullis,
who invented the PCR amplification process.
Yep. Just really digging into Fauci, calling him out.
Fauci doesn't know nothing about nothing. And I'll say it to his face.
And that he would debate him, and that he's been asked to debate many times. And I mean, he lays out the problem with science in general. He's talking about the politicization of science. And, it's really suspicious that he died right before the whole thing happened.
Well, after that rant about Fauci, of course he's not going to make it.
No, he's not going to make it. And the timing of it all, because he died last year, right? I think he died in 2019. It was late 2019 or mid to late 2019, if I'm not mistaken.
Skills, man.
And then by January was when the World Health Organization pushed through that ridiculous paper that gave them the authority to start using the PCR all over the world to see if people had COVID. The one that was basically called out for 10 egregious issues, and I think we went over it a couple episodes ago.
That used a genetic sequence that wasn't even from a COVID sample or was given to them by China or something.
Yeah. So, I mean, just the whole thing is out of control.
Yeah. And just to repeat it for those who might be hearing it for the first time, PCR testing, of course, which is the quote unquote gold standard for COVID detection, from the mouth of the inventor of the PCR quote unquote test, the PCR is not a test. PCR is an amplification process that lets you amplify whatever you want within a sample. It's not an actual test for anything.
Yeah, it's pretty unfortunate. And I think this type of clip, and I don't know when this clip was from, but based on the video quality and the hairstyle of the interviewer and glasses, I'm thinking like late 90s, maybe early 2000s.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Fun detail, I think it's Florida. I don't have the article right in front of me. I think it's Florida is going to start or some state. I won't put out details that can be debunked, but one of the states that is a little bit more lax on all the COVID stuff is going to be requiring a PCR cycle. The number of PCR cycles.
I think it was Florida.
I think it is too. To be reported when you get your test, which is a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting to see how the stuff changes in terms of results.
Yeah.
But okay, let's keep moving here. We're pressed for time.
Waccine.
You can have this one, Basil. This one's pretty wild. Our friends from Down Under.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go. This is coming from Forbes.com. Australia drops promising COVID-19 vaccine after volunteers falsely tested positive for HIV. Oh, no. There's been a lot of talk about this HIV issue in regards to the vaccine. Let's hear about it. The Australian government has abandoned a promising domestic COVID-19 vaccine developed by the University of Queensland and biotech firm CSL after participants in an early-stage clinical trial falsely tested positive for HIV, highlighting potential setbacks faced by scientists in efforts to bring safe and effective vaccines to the market. Should I just go through the key facts for the sake of time? I'm going to do that.
Okay.
I'm going to go through the key fact bullet points. While there's no chance that the vaccine could cause an HIV infection, something detailed follow-up tests confirmed. No chance. I mean,
there's always a chance for something.
Yeah, if follow-up tests just showed you that the cases that you had at the time did not cause it, that does not mean that there's no chance that a vaccine could cause it. Anyways, scientists warned participants that the vaccine could possibly generate a partial immune response to a protein fragment used to stabilize the vaccine, which is also found in HIV. Scientists said the magnitude of the immune response was unexpected, to the point that it was able to interfere with HIV tests that detect antibodies and give false positives. The vaccine actually produced a robust response toward the COVID-19 virus and has a strong safety profile. But the Department of Health Secretary Brendan Murphy said the issue could cause confusion and undermine public confidence in the vaccine. Moreover, the University of Queensland said, quote, significant changes would need to be made to well-established HIV testing procedures in the healthcare setting to accommodate rollout of this vaccine, leading the government to cancel its order of 51 million doses while CSL shelved its plans to progress the vaccine to more extensive phase 2 and 3 clinical trials. Professor Paul Young, who co-led the research, said that although the issue could probably be fixed, quote, doing so would set back development by another 12 or so months. time that cannot be justified given the current coronavirus crisis. This is so weird. They're insisting, of course, that these are false HIV tests, but you would cancel in their worldview, the life-saving, pandemic-ending, highly robust vaccine that you've created for your country just because it's if it really is just weird little false positives, but you're going to just let everybody continue to have COVID because of it has this weird little thing. I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like that would be enough to cancel an entire, billions of dollar project.
Well, they might be. Go ahead.
I just don't think it makes much sense.
Well, it could be an excuse to cancel and back out. It's like the Homer Simpson slowly moving back into the bushes.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you're a politician and you suddenly have a population that thinks everyone's getting HIV from the vaccine that you ordered, that's not a very good look either. Even if it's false positive.
No, it's not.
It's a horrible look. You're going to create even more chaos and panic. So I can understand
Strangely enough, just to add another layer of strangeness, I mean, of course, Fauci is famous for his work in the HIV stuff. So weird how it just happens to also show up, quote unquote, false positives in the vaccine. I don't know. It's just weird. Just weird, man.
It's Carrie Mullis from Beyond the Grave messing with the stuff. Okay, a few more updates here real quick. And I don't know how much time we're going to have after the break.
We're going to have to move pretty quick.
Yes, but here we go. This one is concerning deep fakes. And I'm just trying to kill time to look for my deep fake jingle, which I know I grabbed, and I don't know why I can't find it.
Yeah, kill the time. We got all the time in the world.
Come on, where's my deep fake jingle? I know I grabbed it. No. All right, well, anyway, here it is.
Which jingle? Story. Deep fake?
Deep fake, yeah.
I'll do it. We are in deep fake.
Sure. This is the Indian Express. COVID-19 vaccination scams, deep fake disinformation campaigns set to increase in 2021. Avast. And it says here, 2020 has been one of the worst years hit by fake news as people tried to find cures for the COVID-19 pandemic and were fooled by websites. As vaccines make their way into the market in 2021, these scams will increase as people will be exploited by fake COVID-19 vaccination websites, as per cybersecurity firm Avast. It is also expected that weak home office infrastructures will be more prone to ransomware attacks in 2021. It's interesting how they kind of put those two together. As per the report,
the little guy again.
Yeah, Android users will be under greater threat as Avast predicts adware attacks, fleeceware scams, and stalkerware usage, along with AI-generated campaigns to fool users and spread misinformation. Quote, we expect to see a continuation of ransomware attacks on healthcare institutions and the exfiltration of sensitive data, with attacks specifically targeting pharmaceutical companies and institutions to harvest sensitive customer information or blackmailing the industry espionage. Companies in other sectors will be at risk of falling victim to targeted attacks via their VPN infrastructure and remote desk applications they may be using to connect employees working from home. And it goes into the deep fake stuff, just basically being used as like campaigns. So deep fake will likely, this is a quote again, deep fakes will likely reach a quality next year where they can be actively used in disinformation campaigns. I think they're getting us ready for this. Conspiracy theories about the coronavirus, such as its alleged spread via 5G, could be re-emphasized via deepfake videos. For example, wrongly showing politicians as conspirators. The pandemic, the resulting increase in people working from home, and higher reliance on online connectivity, as well as the growing economic pressure, combined with uncertainty among people, are likely to feed into the effectiveness of the use of deepfakes to spread disinformation, said Peter Somol, AI research director at Avast. So, yep, there you go. It's more.
It speaks for itself, I think.
Yeah, pretty sure that they've had the capabilities have been getting better in the public light, and I think next year it's going to be even crazier. But interesting how this is a concern of mine that this article brings up, is that you're going to get deep fakes that validate certain viewpoints of the fringe, and the fringe are going to share it. And they're going to be like, see, look, this guy, I'm just going to pick a random politician, Ted Cruz. They make a deep fake of Ted Cruz saying like 5G causes COVID, and the, COVID vaccine will completely rewrite your DNA to the point where you are no longer human and you will lose your soul. And you will be, and so that deep fake video comes out. You're going to have a whole bunch of people mistakenly share that. Even if that's partially true, people are going to share it, and then the discrediting can happen. They can say, "Oh, look, they're just sharing a deep fake," and it'll be like a big psyop,
Yeah, well, the deep fake threat has been growing. I mean, we've been following it for at least 5 years, and it's just it's the pinnacle, the sort of Olympus of postmodernism, where you just can't trust anything. What is truth? It's so relative, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, as it stands now, we get a lot of people sending us a lot of videos. We got to, it might just be part of our job description, Gons. We're going to need to invest in some deepfake detection software and training, because this problem is going to grow. It's just going to keep getting bigger. It's like, it was sort of an imaginary problem last year. Now it's not so imaginary, but not sort of an all-consuming problem. I think next year it may just expedite the process to full-on crisis.
Yeah, and I think the jingle summarizes it well.
We are in deep fake.
Yeah, see, I think I did a pretty good job on that one.
Yep, not too bad.
Okay, let's see. One last little thing here. This is coming from CBSNews.com. FDA panel recommends use of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. So there it is, the official recommendation from the FDA. A federal advisory panel on Thursday recommended the emergency use of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine. The Food and Drug Administration is expected to approve the drug, kicking off massive nationwide operation to get nearly 3 million doses of the vaccine to hospitals and drugstores across the country. You can't do drugstores because, as we know, with the allergic reactions that can be caused by the vaccine, where if you have any sort of strong allergy, you should not get the Pfizer vaccine. And in the UK, they made it mandatory where you got to have full-on resuscitory equipment in the room while you're giving the vaccine. You do not get this vaccine in a drugstore. You will never die. You will never leave the drugstore. And that's just the news. That's not even a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
All right. That's all. There's nothing more to add to that. So let's take a really quick break, because we do need to touch on the Facebook lawsuit, its biggest legal battle in years. And then we got a little bit of mind control and a Nephilim update that we need to hit before we move into our second stream with a Canary Cry radio episode that you're not going to want to miss. You want to mention the guests for the Canary Cry radio episode again?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. Military Guide to Armageddon, Colonel David J. Jamona, and Troy Anderson.
That's right. And so we'll be starting that stream just minutes after we end this one. So make sure to stick around and catch it. It's going to be very important. But let's see here. I think we should take a quick break.
It's break time. Come on, take a break.
Okay, we're going to zoom through this break. So those of you who don't like me proselytizing about the benefits of the value for value model, you're in luck. Today is your day. But we want to take a second and thank some of our producers, because as you may have noticed, we do not advertise, even though we've been given ample opportunities to do so, because we believe advertising is evil for so many reasons, including privacy concerns, big data, and just simple, good old-fashioned mind control that we do not want to participate in, because we know we'll have to answer for it someday over yonder. But instead, we rely on listeners who value the program, who see the value in, participating in the ongoing production of media that they value and enjoy. And so whether you appreciate the analysis, the education, the entertainment, whatever it is you like about Canary Cry News Talk, you are invited to put value back into the system by becoming a producer. And there's a couple ways that you can do that. And we can only continue doing the show because of our producers. It's not a little bonus. They are an essential aspect of what we do here. And first of all, you can become a producer financially by heading over to patreon.com/CCNT for Canary Cry News Talk. And today, Gons, we actually got a few Patreon producers, so that's very nice. And first of all, I want to thank producer Watchman Studios.
Watchman Studios.
Yeah, thank you very much, producer Watchman Studios. It seems like something I should check out. Next, we have producer Ledushka74.
Ledushka
74. Thank you very much. And next, we have a new Patreon producer, producer Matt H.
Thank you, producer Matt.
Thank you very much, Matt. Okie dokie. Now, we also have patreon.com/Canary Cry Radio. And we have one upgrading producer, and that's Aiden M.
Thank you, producer Aiden.
Thank you very much, producer Aiden. And there you go. So thank you to our Patreon producers for this show, episode 275 of Canary Cry News Talk. Now, if you don't like Patreon, that's okay. A lot of people don't like Patreon, but you can still head over to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right. Heading over to canarycryradio.com/support will give you the opportunity to become a producer of the show through PayPal. You can come in with a monthly producership, or if commitment is not your thing, you can go ahead and produce the show in any amount you like for a one-time deal. Gons, who do we have coming in on the PayPal?
Day so far, we have a good handful of producers. Rochelle S. Thank you, Rochelle S.
Thank you, producer Rochelle.
Should I mention the amount? It's kind of an interesting amount.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Yeah,
it's $77.07. I got the 777. So excellent. Thank you, producer Rochelle. And next up, producer Sandra B.
Woo! Thank you very much, producer Sandra.
Thank you, producer Sandra. We also have producer Eric X.
Ooh, producer Eric X. Thank you.
Yes. And then we have producer Cherie.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, producer Cherie. She's coming in with $33.75, so the 33 producership, and mixed with 75 cents as a Trump tax producership. So there you go. Multi-producer, producer Cherie.
Yes. And producer Cherie says, thank you for all you do. Well, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And I think we have our executive producer for the show. What's happening? Is someone messaging me on Skype? Is that what's going on with the noise?
No,
it might be our guest.
Oh,
we'll see. I'll check in a moment here. But I wanted to thank producer Aaron W.
Yeehaw.
Oh my gosh, my jingle machine freaked out. There it is. I don't know what happened there.
Thank you very much, producer Aaron W., executive producer of Canary Cry News Talk, episode 275.
And he said, appreciate what you guys are doing. I surely say that. I suspect I might be a knight. Oh.
Ooh, okay. We're going to have to check that out.
We'll
Producer
check it out.
Aaron, send us an email with your accounting, just, the amounts that believe bring you to knighthood, and we'll be so excited to knight you into the Canary Cry round table of knights and dames, the first night in a while. So I will be very excited to do that on Monday. Aaron, send us a little email. Let's get in contact.
Yep. And that's it for the producers with their treasure. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we could not do this show without you. We've been demonetized, and again, we did not accept advertisements for moral reasons.
Yes.
We're doing the inclusive capitalism, Basil, with producers openly doing it.
You know what's so funny? You actually make a good point. We really are and have been doing our own version of inclusive capitalism or moral imperatives of capitalism by not participating in advertising and making our setup more, the value for value model being a more, inclusive opportunity for people to participate in the production of the show.
Yes. And
so we win.
We win. And there are other ways to support the show with your ability to produce, and that's with contributing your time or your talent. You can send us jingles, and you can send us art.
One art, please.
And first piece of art I would like to share is from Allie, and this is Man DeLorean, and that is me.
This is so good.
In a Mandalorian mask.
She's really got a knack for drawing DeLoreans.
That's one thing I did growing up. Between the age of maybe like 8 and 12, 13, I drew the DeLorean all the time. I was a big Back to the Future fan.
That's hilarious. What a fun piece of Gon's trivia.
Yeah.
That should make it onto some sort of, Canary Cry trivia. And yes, for those who are just listening, really expertly done image of Gon's wearing a Mandalorian mask, holding Baby Yoda or Gorgu or whatever his name is now.
I think that's Keizo, my son, as Grogu.
With the ears.
Yeah,
yes,
with the ears.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Your son Gorgu. Grogu, that's what it is. And DeLorean in the background. Very good job, producer Allie, one of the youngest producers of Canary Cry News Talk, a prolific artist, and Gazel and Bonds in the chat.
Yeah, I love it. It's always it always captures the essence of what we talk about, various ways.
Very good.
So thank you for that, producer Allie. And, we had one from Incarnate Unlimited, and I see you in the chat there. We're going to ask you if you want it shared or not, because it's part of the calendar. So we'll see about that.
We didn't know if it was for the show or if it was for.
Yeah, and we'll definitely share it on Monday if you want us to. But for now, and we're pressed for time today as well. But we did see it. It was great artwork. It's fantastic. So we're looking forward to sharing that. But in the meantime, we also have a couple pieces from Barzilai. I think it's Barzilai.
Is that a new artist?
I think so. I don't know. Maybe he, there was a name, but it was signed as Barzilai. So anyway, I have this piece here. It's there's a lot going on, so let me move some things out of the way for people viewing it. But it is an entire,
it's an I Spy. It's an I Spy scene, is what it is.
Is it?
Yes, it's noted by the following. It's a two-parter. Yes. So those who are watching, you see quite the scene going on. It's sort of an apocalyptic scene with samurai and robots and cats, and that looks like Incarnate Unlimited playing guitar over there, and drones and aliens, and it's a whole big thing because the next image, Gons, explains. It's the Canary Cry I Spy.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get it.
And
now.
so it's a game. You put it up there, and you got to find these things. Obviously, Samurai Guns, VR Guitar Hero Basil. Oh, it is me. BD Beast Police Force, Interdimensional Invaders, Kitty Monster Truck Mayhem, Drone Strike Saving Lives, AI Bible Story Time, etc., etc. So it's an interactive I Spy, Canary Cry I Spy. This is actually, I see a future with this Canary Cry I Spy business.
I can do this with my 3.5-year-old daughter.
It's a game for all ages. This is awesome. What was the name of this artist again? Sorry, I need to learn it.
Barzilai? We're going to have to double check to make sure what he wants to
say
go
it
by.
with a little bit more confidence. But
Barzilai.
And it's great. The title is Canary Cry I Spy, but the I is, of course, the Illuminati triangle with the I in there. Very good. And I can't wait to get the time to sit down and play this. This might require its own sort of Facebook post or something so people can play along.
Yes.
So beautiful, beautiful, very good.
Very good. And we have one more from Ebony Blaze. Let me get the chat bot back up. And this one, did you see the Person of the Year? Times Person of the Year is
did.
Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So person, two people. I don't get it. But she said she couldn't help herself. If we scroll up the Biden-Kamala portrait, it slowly turns into a reptilianoid
reptilian beast. It's kind of like a chimera in the sort of Greek sense, where it's a multi-headed lizard being.
It's pretty good.
Or
it's funny.
basilisk. What am I thinking of? The multi-headed dragon person. Anyways, yes, very good. And I understand, Ebony Blaze, why you couldn't help yourself.
Yeah. So there you go. That is all the artwork we have for today. And thank you again to all the producers out there. Oh, you know what? I have a snail mail. I forgot about that. We have one
great.
It was a Christmas card from the Habibics. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Habibic or Habibik. Canary Cry Radio and Talk. You've meant so much to me over the years. I owe you billions in payment for all the truths you share. We will accept the $1 billion check, by the way. Love in Christ Jesus forever, and grace and peace to you for always. So Merry Christmas to my brothers in Jesus.
Very good.
And a beautiful picture of the kids that I will not share on air here. But thank you so much for that. That was very cool, very nice of you. And those are the kinds of notes that really, not only do I appreciate it, but it proves to my wife that like what we do here is worthwhile. Because she was very happy about the. There is, I think. Okay, he's trying to call in
Don't
right
get distracted.
now. No, I'm sorry, because our guest is trying to.
Well,
enter
we
the
might
call
just
right now.
need to switch over and do that interview. We only have 4 minutes until our interview time, anyways. So.
Yeah, I guess Troy didn't tell him or let him know that we're
just send him a link to the live stream so he can follow along.
You can follow along. Okay, hold on. Oh boy, there's a lot going on with that because then I have to.
Why don't we just finish this up and then you can talk to him while I wrap the show.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to close out the screen here, so we're. Yeah. Okay. There you go. Go ahead. Talk to him, or no, I'll talk to him. And
okay.
you can.
Gons is getting
wrap it up.
flustered. Everybody, we finally
too much.
done it. We've got him flustered.
Too much going on.
Okay, well, here's what we're gonna do, folks. We ran out of time today because we're gonna be doing another stream right here in just a few minutes for Canary Cry Radio. So don't go anywhere. If you're over on YouTube, you will need to click into a new video. If you're on Twitch, it will just populate right where you're sitting. So just don't go anywhere. Now, here's the thing. Next episode is going to be on Monday, December 14th. That's Monday, December 14th, sometime between noon and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So put it on your calendar, turn on notifications, very important. As we start wrapping up the show here today, folks, if you haven't done it, please hit the like button. If you're on YouTube or wherever you are, hit the thumbs up or the heart or whatever you have in front of you. It not only does it make us feel good, but more importantly, it makes the algorithms know that this show is worth sharing with others. So it's the simplest, sort of very effective way that you can help out the show. So thank you for everybody who has done that, and please do that again. Like I said, turn on notifications because you never know if you're going to get the notification when we go live. And on top of that, you should follow us on multiple platforms because, not going to lie, some of the platforms just kind of pick and choose when they're going to tell people that we're doing a show. So you can follow us on YouTube /Canary Cry Radio, twitch.tv /Canary Cry Radio, or search Canary Cry Radio on DLive. Oh, those are the best ways to get the live show. Now, remember, Monday, the 14th, we're going to need some producers for episode 276. So if you have been considering becoming a producer, if you value this show and you want to keep it going, this is an interactive media. It's not a passive experience for our dear listeners. A passive experience would be like watching the evening news and letting Pfizer advertise their vaccine to you. That doesn't cost you anything, but also you get the extra bonus of brainwashing. No brainwashing here, folks. If you want the show to keep going, you got to participate. Become a producer by heading to patreon.com/CCNT, or if Patreon isn't your thing, you can head to canarycryradio.com/support.
canarycryradio.com/support.
That's right, canarycryradio.com/support. There's also crypto options if you're a crypto person, but there's also some literature there to learn about the Canary Cry Roundtable of Knights and Dames, or just also sort of our philosophy about advertising and the value for value model. So canarycryradio.com/support. Go, learn, do. Now, if you're an artist or a musician or anything like that, you can become a producer by sending us art that is show related. Make sure it's show related, and we like it to be new. So you can send that to canarycryradio@gmail.com, or if you're a musician or a sound design person, you can create jingles or songs or anything like that that we can play on the show or after the show. We might have a short Canary Cry mixtape at the end of the show. We'll see. A little pressed for time. But there you go. And there's other ways you can help the show. It really helps the show when you share it. Share it out on your social media. Send it to a friend. Just hit that little share button. Send it to somebody you love, because y'all got friends and family who are waking up to the fact that the world is not what it seems. And we can be a part of that journey of theirs. Just go ahead and send them an episode. Maybe it's this episode. Maybe it's a different episode. Whatever episode it is, word of mouth is one of the best ways, because people trust you and they love you, and that's better than randomly finding a podcast on your own. You can tell them how much you love Canary Cry News Talk. Okay, and if you need any other instructions, here's what you do. You walk right up to them, you grab them by the cage, and then you shake it.
The end of the world occurred pretty much as we had predicted.
I want to shake things up, stir up some controversy, rattle a few cages. Hey, stop that! You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man, a crusader for the little guy. Leave the bird alone. Never. Rattle a few cages. Rattle a few cages.
The human race will have every opportunity to improve.
And if they don't?
Ask Noah.
That's right. Just ask Noah. Okay, one last time. We'll be back on Monday, December 14th, sometime between noon and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you so much. Gons, you have any last words?
Nope. Stay tuned for people that are here live for the Military Guide to Armageddon. It's going to be a separate stream, so look for that. And yeah, that's it. Thank you. Have a great weekend, everybody.
There you go. And like Gon said, if you're on YouTube, you're going to need to go to whatever channel you're watching this on, whether it's Canary Cry Radio or the Face Like the Sun channel. A new stream will pop up there. If you're on Twitch, I think you can just stay put. It'll pop right up for you. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Canary Cry News Talk. Make sure to tune in next time. But until then, think outside the cage.
Called it.
Aliens.
We will launch a new age. You can't handle the truth.
Stop this progress before it is too late.
I'll keep you warm and safe in my people's zoo.
Remember, reality is an illusion. The universe is a hologram. Buy gold. Buy!
I wanna shake things up, shake things up. I wanna shake things up, shake things up. Leave the bird alone. I wanna stir up some controversy. I wanna rattle a few cages. I wanna rattle a few cages. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. I'm the last angry man. You'll never silence me. I'm the last angry man. A crusader for the little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Well, we'll see about that.
Whatever, Illuminati.
Don't even get me started on bidets, man. Bidets, man. Bidets, man. I'm telling you, you were living the life, man. Bidets, man.
Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. It might seem scary, so frightening. Get ready for it. Don't push your button. Get in your spaceship. It will be over. Get in already. It will be started. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an invasion! Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Robot girls, robot boys, all together it's an image. Now!
In the future, humans will be confined in a people's zoo.
I'll keep you safe and warm in my people's zoo. I'll keep you safe and warm now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on in my people's zoo. I'll keep the cameras on now in my people's zoo. You, yeah, you in my people's zoo. a people's zoo.